everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to say, major spoiler alert, we are going to be going over everything that happened in the Marvels movie. So if you haven't seen that movie yet, you may want to pause this video, head to your local theaters, check that out, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
Joining with me to break down everything from the Marvels movie, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hey.
Hey!
How we doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Look, this has been a week. We had the season 2 finale of Loki, and we had the Marvels coming out the same week. This has been a week. So many different emotions. Yeah. I'm not even talking about how busy. I'm just saying so many different emotions this week.
You watched both on the same day too.
Ooh, my brain was scrambled after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting right into it. Look, there were some not so nice reviews of this movie, from some early viewings of it and stuff like that. So I went in, cautiously optimistic because I always want, I want any comic book movie to be good. Like I whether it's DC, whether it's Marvel, whether it's even an independent like Kick-Ass or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be good. I want to enjoy it no matter what. So I always go in hopeful, and I want it to be good. After watching it, I really enjoyed it. I mean, look, is it I told this to you, and I've told it to a couple other people. Is it a perfect movie? No. Is it, one of the greatest MCU movies, like scale or anything in involving that? Probably not. But it's definitely not the worst. It's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen, and it's definitely not the worst MCU movie I've ever seen, for sure. And there are so many things that I actually do enjoy about this movie versus the things that I didn't enjoy as much. That for me, it's a positive. And I mean, right off the bat, the thing I have to say immediately is I love Kamala Khan. I love the character. I love the actress.
Yeah.
She's incredible throughout the entire movie. And I mean, I also know that puts me into a different category because I loved the Miss Marvel series too. And what this movie gave me was more of that. And that's what I loved. Like, that's some of the stuff that I really loved about this. Anytime Kamala is in a scene, she's stealing the scene. Like every single scene that she's in, even if she's just dancing in the background. And you know exactly the scenes I'm talking about in that. But it's just, she just like has this perfect, hopefulness and eagerness like of like a young superhero, which is really cool. And I think where it kind of crosses into what I really like is I got the same feeling from Tom Holland when he was first starting as Spider-Man. So even like his appearance in Civil War and his appearance in Homecoming and stuff like that, where he was really like eager to prove himself to Tony Stark and eager to prove himself to the rest of the Avengers and stuff like that. And this feels like Kamala is kind of doing the exact same thing to, Captain Marvel, her hero. Like her walls were covered in, drawings of Captain Marvel and stuff like that. So I get the same feeling from the two of them, like from Tom Holland Spider-Man and from Kamala Miss Marvel. Like it's just they're really I really like that sense of eagerness, that sense of like wanting to prove themselves and stuff like that. So I really enjoy that. Not only that, but from enjoying the Miss Marvel series so much, I'm so happy that, we got Kamala's whole family back. We got that kind of dynamic back, which I really appreciated during the series. I really enjoyed that whole thing. And I do really appreciate, because what's really funny is it's called The Marvels, but technically it's supposed to be, Captain Marvel sequel. But it
Right.
really
Yeah.
feels like we're seeing it through the lens of Kamala Khan the entire time, because we're getting like more of her family in scenes that have none of the three main characters in it, type of thing. You know what I mean? So it almost feels like this is a Kamala centric movie. Like she is kind of the center character in it, and that's why I think I appreciated, I guess, it more than some other people who may have not liked the Miss Marvel series as much, or may have not, you know, gone into it, I guess, with that, with hoping for that, like some of that kind of content and stuff like that. But Rico, what were some of your initial impressions of this movie?
Yeah, there's a lot to excuse me. There's a lot to unfold here with this movie, both good and bad, I think. I think right off the bat, the chemistry between the three leads is really good.
Yeah,
And I think it does a really good job of forwarding each one of their stories, going off of what we learned from them in past projects. Obviously Kamala, including her bangles into like the main storyline is a good way to just to include her overall, and of course just having her in that trio of heroes, so that was a good way to integrate her into the story. And of course, being that she has like a whole family that we've learned or that we've met and we've learned to love over her show, bringing them into it is also a fun way to kind of have like a little side jokes with them as well. Especially because Monica and Carol are both kind of like lone wolves now, like they don't really have
yeah,
any family out there, so we have that kind of personal tie-in through her family, with Kamala, so I like that. Um, I really love the action sequences in this
yeah,
movie. I think they're really well choreographed. I think they do a really good job of, like, using the location swapping in the fight sequences and making it really interesting as well. So, I think that was obviously, like, one of the highlights of the movie there for me, also. A few of the things that were a little weird for me, I thought that the movie was tonally all over the place. I feel like there was a lot of, like, story arcs that could have been fleshed out more as opposed to, like, giving more time to some pretty weird sequences, I would say. I would love to see more of, like, the dynamic between, Carol and Monica be
yeah.
fleshed out. I think that's something that we only kinda got, like, a little bit like, 1 or 2 scenes kinda going over that with them. Um so I would like to see more of that. I would like to see Nick Fury be like, not relegated to kind of like a family babysitter slash like cat sitter kind of thing. I understand, Sam Jackson's getting old. He can't be running around doing a bunch of stuff, but yeah, I just think like for a character as high tier as Nick Fury, I just feel like it's weird when we're kind of seeing him be like the side jokey character in movies like this, and then you have him in other projects being super serious also. So yeah, there's a lot of different things there. The villain, of course, another kind of cliche, forgettable Marvel villain. I kind of feel bad for the Zawe Ashton, who's also the wife of Tom Hiddleston, aka Loki.
Yeah.
Um, I just found something like really weird about her performance at times. Like I just like she was kind of coming off like a little like unhinged in certain moments. I didn't really like feel like it was warranted at times. So it kind of made some of like her acting choices like seem a little off. Um, but I did kind of like the way they integrated her story in with like the kind of like the filling in the time gaps of Captain Marvel and this movie. Kind of like with the way Carol destroyed the Supreme Intelligence and all that, and then how it affected Hala. So I kind of like the character's motivations, but again, it's just kind of like thrown in there. Not enough time with her to really kind of flesh out her motivations as well. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of good moments in this movie. There's a lot of weird moments in this movie. It's definitely going to be divisive depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
But I again, like you said, I had fun with the movie. It's not great. It's not bad. But it's worth a rewatch here every now and then, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with all of your points. Like there's nothing that I disagree with what you said, especially the biggest thing for me is it went so quick. Like and I think we could have,
Yeah.
and I mean we both
I
talked
think that
about
was
this.
part of it too, like
Yeah.
the short runtime. I think you could clearly tell with the editing choices there was some stuff that was cut out for sure.
You know what would have been really cool? And I was just thinking this as you were kind of actually, going through some of your points, was if we had started on a flashback of Carol going and destroying the Supreme Intelligence instead of getting that really quick scene when she finally
Mhm.
admits that's what she did, type of thing. If we had gotten like the movie started with that, like as
Right.
as if, and then it did like a 5 years later thing or whatever.
Yeah. It
Like it
starts
could
with
have.
Darben, but in a different way, I think. But yeah, it
Right.
would have
It
been cool
doesn't.
to see like that actual incident.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
then we'd have immediately gone in, because it almost felt like with the villain that we had, we could have had a really decent villain arc, because it's all dealing with, past trauma. So it's almost like a I'm trying to think, like Iron Man 3, where
Right.
Tony has
Creating your own
basically,
villain.
yeah, he created his own villain, and we kind of got a little bit more flash of that. Like we got some of, like, it immediately starts with the flashback, like that creates the villain arc for the other person.
Yeah.
So that's why I was kind of thinking of that. Like if we had gotten like the initial event that started that person down on the path, like we already know, like the Kree were, under the Supreme Intelligence, so they were kind of not doing great things, but that was because of the Supreme Intelligence type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's interesting, because the villain of this movie, just wants to make her homeworld better again, but she doesn't really know how to do that other than with force. And that was all
Right.
created because of Carol type of thing. So like, I think we could have had a really interesting villain arc, and in a more, not relatable villain, but a more, I guess, fleshed out villain, had we had just a few more scenes in there, um, or a little bit less editing, or a little bit longer, or things like that. I think it could have really given us more depth to the character.
Yeah, I think you could have given us a little bit more kind of like, like background info on just the Kree in general, because every time we see them, we're just kind of like these pompous assholes. So we're just kind of like, okay, we don't like them. We kind of know we don't like them. But I think this movie actually did a good job of kind of presenting them as kind of more sympathetic figures for sure,
Yeah.
especially at the end of the movie when Carol gives the energy back into the sun. You kind of see like they're all pretty happy with her again. So like there is parts of them that are like good, but there a lot of the Krees that we meet tend to be pretty bad people. But yeah, I do like that this movie does have some like big story progression for not just the three main characters in general, but for there's actual like MCU story progression here as well. So
Oh, there's
for
a
anyone
lot.
who didn't think there wasn't going to be any of that in this movie, it's just going to be kind of like this contained story. No, there's some pretty cool stuff in this movie you don't want to miss.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see when this actually does get released, to, I mean, Blu-ray, I mean, streaming services basically is what
Mhm.
we're all going to end up watching it off of. But what the deleted scenes will look like. Like, what are we going to get, a whole bunch? Are there only going to be a cut? Like, I'm very interested to see what they took out, because it's a very quick runtime, like just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, hour
I
44 or something like that.
Yeah, but that's with credits. That's with
I
you know what
know.
I mean.
That's
Like,
that's not long.
yeah, so I feel like we could have gotten another 15 minutes in there, and really, beefed up the story of in a couple of parts. I definitely agree with you on that. Do you want to get to some big takeaways?
Big takeaways. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick us off with big takeaways. The reason I said it that way is because we got not one, but two boom big reveals. So the first of those is boom, big reveal. We got a almost shot for shot remake of building a new team, basically, through the lens of Kamala Khan, technically
Yeah.
trying to start the Young Avengers with Kate Bishop. But it's like, it's really funny, because I did see somebody put the video side by side of Nick Fury's appearance at the end of Iron Man 1 with Tony and Kamal. Like, they're so similar. And I understand, like, that's like, she's a fan of superheroes. And I mean, the actress is 100% a fan of all MCU movies and everything like that. And I get that she wouldn't have known, exactly what Nick Fury said or how he did it. But it was just really, for me, that hit perfect. Like, going,
Oh yeah, it's,
oh
it's
shit,
definitely a cool nod to,
yeah,
to the past for
it was
sure.
such a cool nod. But yeah, just like you were saying, the reason I had this as my takeaway, as my big reveal, is because this is a big deal. We've been like, everybody's been talking about this, but we've been talking about the potential of getting the Young Avengers at least a year at this point. Like,
Oh
we've
yeah, every
mentioned it.
time we see a younger version of
Right.
a character pop up, the conversation always comes up.
Yeah, and so now we're getting concrete evidence. This is for our first step. Not only did they mention, or not only was the scene with Kamala and Kate Bishop, but they also mentioned Cassie Lang as someone they're going to start paying attention to also recruit for the team. And I mean, there's so many other people out there. I mean, we could even get technically an Iron Lad because, you know, we've got Kang variants all over after the multiverse has now been allowed to bloom with the God of Stories Loki. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the season finale of Loki. But now we have just thousands of Kang variants. So out there's got to be an Iron Lad. So that's another person for the Young Avengers team. I mean, I can't wait to see, and I really hope that Marvel does another nod to how Nick Fury kind of went through in phase 1 and kind of at the end of those movies had him meeting up with another person and like recruiting them for the Avengers initiative type of thing. So I really like to see, like, you know, the next couple of movies maybe have Kamala meeting with somebody new type of thing, and almost doing that as like a parallel from phase 1 when they were putting together the OG Avengers basically, and just have like, this is the new team and it's Kamala kind of doing it as like one of our like post-credit scenes in future movies. I think that would be a lot of fun. But Rico, what were some of your takeaways from and what is your big takeaway from the Marvels?
Yeah, so at the end of the movie, you know, Darban's created all of these you know, these risks in time and space, and basically, and she creates a big one at the end that Monica decides she needs to close from the other side, and she ends up doing that. That's where she fully becomes basically a photon, I feel like.
Yeah.
And and that's when she closes it, she's stuck on the other side, and that's the last we see of her until the mid-credit scene. You see her wake up, nice white room, pretty clean looking room. She's wondering where she is. She looks over to her left, and she sees her mom, basically, Maria Rambeau, but it's not necessarily her mom. And then we hear this voice off screen kind of telling her that you're in a different universe parallel to yours. And when the camera pans over, we see Dr. Hank McCoy, aka Beast from the X-Men, voiced by Kelsey Grammer, which is pretty cool because he obviously played him in the past movies as well. He looks a little bit different here. He's more CGI. Kind of looks a little bit more like the Hulk, because it looks like they took like a little bit of the Hulk model and then just kind of like beastified him. But his design looks a little closer to what I think the animated X-Men design. Like, he's got the little underbite teeth, and I think it's not the practical prosthetic look that he's known for having before, because obviously Kelsey Grammer is pretty old, and we wouldn't want to see an old Beast. We want to see a nice agile Beast in the MCU. So I think he looks pretty cool. I think the CGI looked a little wonky at times. I think he looked really cool overall. And I think underneath his lab coat, you kind of see some blue and yellow, like he's wearing his X-Men uniform as well. He mentions Charles, like, wanting to know Monica's condition. So obviously Charles is alive here. And it also kind of indicates that she's in the X Mansion. Obviously, when we see that one wide shot of Binary in the when we see the big X door.
Yep.
So that was really cool. So that's kind of confirmation that she's in an X Mansion somewhere on this universe. We don't know what timeline she could possibly be on. I put in here in my notes that she could possibly be on the repaired timeline of Days of Future Past, because that's the timeline we kind of probably know the least about. I would say we don't know what happened to like those X-Men afterwards, and we know that Beast is there at that point, because I think at the end of Days of Future Past, like, that movie takes, like, the end of that movie is in 2023 or 2024, so it actually kind of lines up.
Oh, wow.
That's when it could all kind of take place with the MCU. So I really like that, and yeah, I just think it's a really, and also, if you don't know who Binary is, it's basically like a form of Captain Marvel who was kind of working with the X-Men, living with the X-Men at some point. But I do think it's interesting that this is also another version of Captain Marvel that's Maria Rambeau, and not Carol Danvers. So it seems like our MCU Carol Danvers is like the only Captain Marvel that we know of so far. Maybe because the other versions we met was the other one, Doctor Strange, and that was also Maria Rambeau.
Yeah.
And then also this one's also a Binary Captain Marvel, Maria Rambeau. So I do also because we had that flashback scene in the movie where they talked about like it should have been you basically in my spot, and that's when I got the powers. So I wonder if this is like the what if version where Maria just never got the Kree powers and Carol is just like that other person. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of interesting timeline stuff being introduced here, and a lot of cool stuff to introduce going forward for the MCU for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we were saying it even before we got into takeaways. There are what was cool about this movie, what it did really well is it had those. It had the end scene where we're getting concrete evidence of an upcoming Young Avengers team up,
Yeah.
and we we got basically Monica being in a different multiverse of
With
where
X-Men.
yeah, where we have X-Men leads pretty close into my prediction. So you want to get to some predictions?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't you kick us off with predictions because I am so excited about mine and I don't want to say it.
Okay. So yeah, we were talking a little about this earlier. Kamala forming the kind of this is the MCU basically officially saying like the Young Avengers are happening with Kamala kind of doing her Nick Fury shtick, and going to Kate Bishop and going to recruit her and all these things. She put out feelers to Cassie Lang and such. Which also got me thinking because it's obviously a conversation we have every single time this comes up. The people that we want to see on the Young Avengers team. I've been reading the Young Avengers comic book that's kind of
Nice.
like the first team up with them, and it obviously deals with them fighting Kang. We have the Iron Lad version of Nathaniel Richards that's in there, of course. That would be a great way to kind of like incorporate the Kang storyline into a Young Avengers storyline. And also we have Eli who plays the Patriot. We've already seen this character as well in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He is the
Oh,
grandson
yeah.
of Isaiah Bradley. And there's actually a really cool storyline you can kind of go with him that they haven't gone yet with that character in the MCU. So that's obviously something you can incorporate into that team as well. Obviously with the White Vision still out there, that's like your character that can be like their I don't want to say babysitter, but kind of like their mentor slash like teacher, like the one that like the Avengers are like, okay, we need someone to look after these young kids who can train them. Vision can. That's also, and then of course, it's been a few years since we've seen Wicked and Speed.
Yep.
Tommy and Billy, who are obviously in an alternate universe because of Multiverse of Madness. But if everything plays out the way we want it to, we could see them come into play here as the members of the team, and I think
Yeah.
that they're really cool characters to bring in as well. There's a lot of options. We also have Scar, who is
That's
also
what I was
the
just about
Hulk's
to say.
son.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
I
you weren't
wasn't
gonna say
done.
anything, that's what
I
I was gonna
wasn't
say.
done. Yeah, I definitely wasn't done. He's also someone that we can definitely have in there. And then there's a character in there, a changeling, also known as Hulkling, in the comics, but he's kind of like a Kree shapeshifter character, that hasn't been introduced yet. I don't think in the MCU, but that'd be a cool character to kind of find, or to eventually see kind of join that lineup too. Has a relationship with Billy Wiccan. I think that's also something they can probably they want to incorporate at some point as well. But yeah, there's a really bright future ahead for the Young Avengers for sure.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And speaking of at least Wiccan, I haven't heard anything like fully. It's just a kind of a rumor. I heard that we could get a more grown up, like not adult, but like teenage Wiccan
Right.
in Agatha Coven of Chaos.
That's what I was thinking, just because it's been go on, it's been a few years since we've seen them, and then timeline wise, they would probably be like 14, 15 years old. So
Right.
yeah, it makes sense that they would be around that age, and who knows what his power set's like, because in those few years he's grown up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so what I was saying, I didn't want to step on your prediction. So what I was kind of saying leads right off of your takeaways, where we're kind of meeting up with a universe where the X-Men are there, and it's I mean we've had what at least two universes that we've seen of X-Men. We have the OG X-Men movies, and then we have Days of Future Past timeline, right? Like
Yeah. And they
those are
put
kind of
in little music cues from both, which I loved
yeah.
in the scene as well.
So, but what I'm thinking of as a whole, the Fox Marvel, because they're both Fox Marvel properties, Days of Future Past, timelines and like the OG X-Men movie timelines. They're all under the Fox umbrella. Some of the rumored plot points of Deadpool 3, which I'm going to keep bringing this up in a lot of my predictions moving forward with Marvel properties, because it's the next big movie that's coming out, and it's been said that it's going to have a lot of stuff that's going to lead into Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars and stuff like that. But one of the rumored plot points is that Wade goes to the Fox or basically Logan, because the Fox Marvel universe is going to be destroyed from an incursion. Like it's just going to be decimated no matter what. So I think what this past scene set up is it established Monica in the Fox Marvel universe, and I think she is going to be either part of, or at least, you know, a passenger getting out of the Fox Marvel universe before it's completely like decimated, type of thing. Like I could see her showing up in Deadpool 3 as a like Deadpool making like a fourth wall break and saying like, you're not supposed to be here. You're from the main MCU that I'm trying to get to, or you know what I mean? Like something goofy or just something like that. I just feel like she was put there not only as like a holy shit, mutants are coming, the X-Men, the X-Men team is going to be in the MCU type of thing, but also to give her like just a little nod to, hey, there's a pretty good possibility that she's going to show up in the next movie that's going to be dealing with the multiverse, and it's going to be dealing with the more specifically the Fox Marvel universe, where we could see, you know, old Fantastic Four teams, where we could see, you know, both the young and old versions of the X-Men teams and stuff like that. So it's just interesting. I like that they put that there, because it's like, you know, we can look back after we see Deadpool 3 and see if that was right, and see if like that was really like a, hey, she's going to be in that movie too because of this. Like, I just thought it was kind of cool. Like the craziness of having her in the Fox Marvel universe, which is supposedly going to have some kind of reference in Deadpool 3, an upcoming movie. Also, I wanted to say just right off the bat, I really did enjoy Monica as a character. Like I'm glad that we had this movie to kind of like, Kamala absolutely was. I mean, she's been my favorite character since her series, but with Monica, I feel like, you know, she was part of WandaVision, but that wasn't a series built around Monica Rambeau type of thing. It gave us her origin, or superhero origin, but that was the whole Wanda dealing with grief and her creating the hex and everything like that. So we really didn't get so much development of Monica character. So I really enjoyed kind of being able to see her as a character, and I do enjoy her as a character. She's my second favorite at this, and that's not to say to take anything away from Carol Danvers as a character. I do think, you know, they let her be a little bit more like playful in this. So
Brie Larson did a lot better in this movie
Yeah.
than she did in the first movie, for sure. She had a lot more to do
Right.
in this, like from an emotional spectrum. Some arcs just weren't as fleshed out as they could have been.
Right, exactly. But I'm just saying, like in ranking them, I don't want to take anything away from Captain Marvel, because I didn't like I wasn't unhappy with her performance, and I didn't not like her. But in the grand scheme of things of the three heroes, number one is Miss Marvel for me. Number two is Monica Rambeau, because I liked her as a character. I just think she bonded with Kamala a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, and because they're kind of both, even though Monica was more grown up, she kind of still was, you know, growing up, growing into her powers without any attention from Carol, and she missed Carol, and she wanted to have, you know, a connection to Carol.
More of.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But that's what I'm saying. So I kind of saw like some similarities between Kamala and Monica in that sense, and I did appreciate both of those, kind of that dynamic of both of them. Kind of, it felt like they kind of bonded a little bit more because of that type of thing. but yeah, I'm excited to see where all of these characters are gonna pop up next. I do think it could be a running thing where we have Kamala as a post credit scene in some stuff, just like recruiting
Yeah.
new members for the Young Avengers and stuff. Whether it's like the post credit scene to Agatha Coven of Chaos and she's recruiting Wiccan and like you know what I mean. Like there could just be more and more scenes like that, like that we got of Nick Fury in some of the like phase 1 and phase 2 movies type of thing. I think that would be really cool. I do think we're going to see Monica in Deadpool 3, especially because she is in the Fox Marvel universe right now. And
Yeah.
yeah.
A few things on that for sure. Definitely when it comes to Monica and the Fox universe and how that could play into to Deadpool 3. I haven't heard any of the rumor, the plot points and stuff like that, but if I had to guess, the way the TVA could plot to play into this is obviously like her presence being in that universe is going to cause some kind of maybe a brand. I don't know if that's something they're monitoring still, but if
Yeah.
that's going to catch the attention of the TVA, that's how they could definitely play into the Deadpool 3 story. That would be pretty cool. And the one thing I'm really excited about as far as the Young Avengers, um, um, like just the fact that they're going to exist in general is whenever the main Avengers are going to be out doing their thing on whether it's going to be on Battle World or wherever it is, like you're going to need a team to manage everything on Earth or just on a street level, uh, like stakes. So I think it's great. You're going to have like this young team of Avengers who are like kind of trying to figure it out as they go with also
Yeah.
with the help of like a robot AI mentor. And I think that's just going to be really fun to see going forward. And I just want to reference these couple of things that they may not be highlights of the movie for me, but I just gotta say that singing planet, the singing planet went on way too long. I just feel like that was something that needed to be addressed. Like I think that there was a point in that bit where that could have been funny, and then like when the prince started singing, and then like you could have cut to him being like I'm bilingual a little bit sooner. uh, um, yeah, and the cat scene with the flirkin, and I think having a bunch of flirkin swallow people is really funny too. I just feel like having those two bits back to back. I feel like you should just chose one bit or the other. Like if you're gonna have one, like just get rid of the other. But I feel like having both those back to back is like when we're talking about the reviews and stuff and how people are gonna talk this movie, like when I'm watching those, I'm like, that's probably gonna be the ammo that people are gonna have when they talk about like the stuff they don't like about the movie. It definitely has like its audience for people that love it for sure. And I'm not knocking them for that. But definitely some like, whoa, what is happening here in the middle? I think that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like the tonal shift in the movie. Like you're
Yeah.
going from like this great dynamic between these three characters, and then all of a sudden, like you got cats swallowing up people, and then people are singing all over the place. I'm like, what is happening? Uh, um, but it is like, yeah, it's a fun ride though. It's a fun ride, and yeah, I'm excited to see what this whole X-Men tie is going to go in for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement with you. I mean, I would have loved to have seen, more of the dynamic of the three heroes,
Yeah,
bonding together. And I mean, we got such a
double
sped up
dutching.
process of that. Yeah, the whole training sequence I thought was awesome. I would have
Mhm.
taken, more of that and just more of them bonding as people too. Cause I mean, I feel like they bonded, using their powers and being able to switch places and stuff like that, but also we got a very small portion of them kind of bonding as people too, and kind of trying to. We saw Carol completely understand that like she shouldn't yell at Kamala because Kamala hasn't been through this
Right.
situation. It's really hard for her to like not try to save everyone type of thing
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And so it was a very harsh reality. And in the moment, like it had to be told like get on the plane now, like or get on the ship now type of thing.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see more of that. Yeah, the singing planet for me, like my favorite part of that really was Kamala just dancing in the background to everything.
Yeah, it's really, when they're just like, "You guys not enjoying this?" Like, "Oh yeah, I totally fit in with like with what she does in her culture," and I was just like, "That's funny." Yeah, it's just a little too long.
But yeah, I'm in total agree with you. I kind of wish the movie had a longer runtime and it kind of gave us a little bit more fleshed out scenes for our villain and more fleshed out scenes for the team kind of growing both using their powers and just as, as a team together type of thing. Because it did feel they felt really good together, like as a team. Like it wasn't like a forced, like, oh, we just want to have a movie with these three characters in it type of thing. It really did. Yeah, it really did feel good. And I would love to see, I mean, obviously, like we've said over and over again, Monica is in a different universe right now, but I would love to see those three kind of reunite, even if it's just in another movie, like in it where it's just kind of a side part type of thing, because I think they're a really good team together. And yeah, and we still got to give, like, they still have to give Monica her name. We had we had a very small running gag of Kamala constantly throwing names out and stuff like that, and trying to give her a name with a moniker that had Marvel in the title also.
Right.
It was Professor Marvel, and I just like that she was going through all of them.
Yeah,
I thought
I was also ashamed we didn't get an appearance from the character Blue Marvel in this movie too, because I was like, that's a character with Marvel in his name. Why can't he show up? But yeah, it was all it's all for the women Marvels, and we need to let them have their story together. Couldn't bring him in. One day, Blue Marvel will come in and save the day.
But I would have liked to have seen the end of that gag, as far as like finally like Monica just going, all right, I'll take that one, or just something like that, just a throwaway name type of thing, just to have it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
she's Photon to me now at this point. Like, take her mom's call name from the Air Force and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that this is going to have some more significance. If we get more of her in Deadpool 3, or in something that's relating to her where she is in the Fox Marvel universe right now, maybe she gets a name from there type of thing. Like maybe they help her give her a name. Her not mom, Maria Rambeau, in this universe, maybe she helps name her or something.
They love their names in the X-Mansion.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of the Marvels, and who was your favorite Marvel? I mean, I think that's very important to ask. What was it? Kamala? Was it Monica? Was it Carol? I mean, there's no wrong answer. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.